Welcome to Gutter Trash, episode 363. Best Wishes by Mike Richardson and Paul Chadwick. My name is Eric.
And I am Jason.
Hello, Jason.
Why, hello.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like it's been a minute since we've done this.
It has been like 2 or 3 weeks, hasn't it?
I don't know. Yeah, it feels a little longer than usual.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
Maybe it hasn't? I don't know.
I don't know time anymore.
I know, yeah, ever since the robots took over.
Yeah. God,
We're
I wish
not-
the robots would take
We're
over.
not allowed our timepieces anymore. Luckily, you hid your swatch in your anus
Yep. Just like Christopher Walken.
in Whitley Strieber's communion.
Yep. That's why they were probing him.
Yeah.
They
They
were
were
trying
looking
to
for
get
that
it
watch.
out. Yep.
They knew those watches are going to be worth money on the alien black market. That was the best part of that movie. The misremembered part of it.
Never actually seen it.
Oh, I have.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I remember because when I was young, I was probably like 12 or whatever when it came
You're
out.
always young.
I'm going to die young unless I get married. I remember my cousin was really into like the idea that aliens were among us.
Sure.
So much so that
She's not wrong.
Well, that was he. That
Okay.
he was a card-carrying member of MUFON. The something that basically they thought UFOs were, landing all the time and people
Okay.
were taking pictures of them. I forget what the acronym was for. MUFON. It's like muffin spelled wrong. But he was like so into it, and he bought all the books and read all the books about like people being abducted. And he brought over Communion, and he was like, "You have to see this movie." And we watched it together, and I was like, "Well, I don't know." He's like, "It's based on his real life true events," and I was like, "I don't. Yeah." I was like, "I'm 12. You're 22. You should know better than this." Like, I'm not saying aliens aren't real, but
Right.
a Whitley Strieber book is certainly not going to convince me of it.
Yeah. I do think that aliens are real.
We're probably aliens.
Well,
Probably.
sure. We are most likely the offspring
Yeah.
of some sort of alien genetic dickery.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's probably the best word for it.
yeah. We are an alien failure.
Yeah.
For certain.
They're like, let's just leave them here since that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like move on.
No, I think that, there are definitely something out there. If not, definitely time travelers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That have just come back in time to just fuck with us.
Yeah,
Or just fuck us.
I wouldn't be surprised about that,
Yeah.
but it would really surprise me if there weren't, many, other systems of life and
Sure.
planets full of
It would be
much
ridiculous that we are the only...
It would be
Or-
rather ridiculous,
yeah.
wouldn't it?
What is not ridiculous is that we have not traveled to any other, species or been able to make contact because we're fucking dumb.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, see, there's no proof of alien existence, and it's like, well, it's because we're too stupid to find it.
Right, yeah. Or even perceive it
Yeah.
correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
That said, yeah, I think Whitley Strieber is probably just a crackpot.
Yeah.
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 I've heard many an interview with him on Coast to Coast AM when I used to listen to that.
Oh, what a great show.
I've tried to listen to it occasionally. I have a terrible habit of, I don't know if it's a habit, but it's, I don't, I don't have a washer and dryer in my house, so I have to go out and do my laundry like some sort of Neanderthal.
Right.
And, I don't like going to the laundromat when other people are there, so I usually try to do it at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Because there's usually a greater chance that nobody will be there when I'm doing it.
And a pretty good chance that if you do run into someone, they're going to be really interesting.
Also very true. Very true. So, like when I'm driving to the laundromat, like I'll I'll turn on Coast to Coast AM just to give it a listen for the 10-minute drive or whatever. And it is definitely not as good as I remember it being.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to get it with a 10-minute chunk in the middle of the show.
That's true.
But yeah.
Yeah, but I think George, wasn't it, died?
George Norrie.
Yeah,
He's still around.
Which one died? One of them died.
Art Bell, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it was him.
I'm not sure. He might still be around.
I know one of the guys that was that used to host it is dead, but I can't remember which one.
I don't know. Honestly, if that is true, then I would say it's Art Bell, but Art Bell may still be alive. I'm not sure. Or he finally got abducted.
Maybe. That could have been it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just ghost hosting it now.
Could be. Ooh, from beyond.
Yeah.
But the other thing about these 3 a.m. Laundry trips that I do, that's pretty much the majority of the time where I read the book that we're gonna review.
Is that where you read Best Wishes?
Yes.
Nice. Awesome. Best Wishes.
Best Wishes.
It's Dark Horse comic, I think.
Yes, it is.
Maybe, yeah.
Mike Richardson is the founder and publisher of Dark Horse.
So that makes sense then.
Sure.
He knows somebody that could put that out for him.
I mean, it would not make sense if he decided to say, hey,
Boom Studios.
or Image or
right.
Marvel. He knows where his bread is buttered.
Because he butters it.
Yes, he does.
It's probably in his kitchen, where he gives his butter. Yeah. So I'm a huge Concrete fan.
Yeah, me too.
It's in my top 5 favorite comics ever, without a doubt.
I've not read as many as you have, but I have loved what I've read.
Yeah.
I think Paul Chadwick is a fantastic artist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I have an idea of where this is headed.
Concrete, it ain't. Next episode.
Can I just for a second just take a breather here and say thank God.
Yeah.
So, let me put it in my own words. I read a lot of superhero comics, a lot of dudes in spandex punching each other, a lot of sci-fi happenings.
So you're emotionally stunted, you're saying?
Well, sure, there is that. But Concrete, even at its very base is a sci-fi comic.
It is. It's kind of like the Hulk or something.
Yeah,
the Thing.
Yeah,
it reminds me of the Thing.
Yeah. None of those comics that I have ever read have ever shaken my suspension of disbelief like this fucking thing.
Right?
This is the most unbelievable
yeah.
fucking waste of time that I've ever read.
I've definitely read more waste of time things. And
I probably have.
Yeah.
But this is definitely... I don't feel like I've ever gotten as angry reading a book as I did this.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. It didn't make me angry, so I'm curious about that. Like, you just found it, infuriating because...
Yes.
You're like, I'm along for this giant ride that's just going around the block.
Yeah. And also, again, the suspension of disbelief. I feel like as a fan of comics and horror and sci-fi and entertainment in general, you have to have a pretty sturdy sense of that.
Yeah.
And so in this comic that is basically just about normal people living their lives, it is so goddamn unbelievable to the point where my patience wore thin.
Yeah, I can see that. I can empathize with that. I read this entire book in one sitting before it was even released because I got it. I was so excited to see something new by Paul Chadwick, even though he didn't write it, and I do think he's an amazing writer.
Well, he kind of wrote it.
Yeah, he did the script.
Yeah.
So it's like basically kind of like Marvel style. Mike Richardson said, "Here's the story,"
Right.
and then Paul Chadwick made it into a comic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was really excited because seriously, I love Paul Chadwick.
Sure. And it's been a while since he's done anything.
It's been a long time. Yeah. And so I read this all like we unpacked our books at Mavericks and did our files, and then we went home the night before this was released, and I took this home with me because I was so excited to read it.
Sure.
So I read it like the night before it actually released, and I don't think I've ever been more disappointed in a comic book that I've ever read. And it's not just, it's not that I honestly don't feel it's, extremely awful. I just think it's very disappointing. And it is like, part of it just feels like they've so badly wanted to pitch this as a movie, but they just made it into a comic book instead. Because it feels more like some sort of rom-com movie.
It definitely has a lot of rom-com sort of aspects to it.
Yeah.
Without a lot of the calm.
I mean, there's a little bit of comedy.
There's very little comedy.
Yeah. It's more just like incidental, like inner relationship kind of like zaniness. It's not really It's nothing really that makes you laugh. It's just more like, it's
like the world's most boring comic book adaptation of a Three's Company episode. like a really unfunny Three's Company.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it does, like, somewhere on the back, I think, they call it a Woody Allen-esque tale of New York, about meme madness, fame's price, and the secrets of the heart. And, like, I do feel like there is something about this that reminds me of Woody Allen storytelling, but I honestly think Woody Allen is, like, 100 times better at this type of storytelling, and it just seems like maybe Mike Richardson watched Match Point or something, and he was like, I could do that. And it's like, no, maybe you should go back and write a sequel to 47 Ronin or something.
So, the description that you just read, also I think plays into how I felt about this book, is that, Paul Chadwick has been making comics for a very long time.
Like 35 years?
Sure,
maybe?
yeah. And Mike Richardson has been publishing at least since the late 80s. And, God knows what he was doing before he founded Dark Horse. I'm not entirely sure, but probably had some hand in making some comics at some point before
I would
that.
imagine, yeah.
But also I would imagine that both of these men are now in their 60s.
Probably around there. Yeah.
And there is so much of this book that just feels like old men writing about stuff they barely comprehend.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of as out of touch technologically speaking, so maybe I didn't catch as much of that, but you mean as far as like the memes and everything?
Yeah. Just the basic grasp of modern technology and sort of the way it works in the world, and just, there are very large sections of this book that are set in a graphic design company.
Oh, right.
And my job isn't exactly, a graphic design studio, but
a lot of elements of that.
There are elements to it, and I've been in the business enough and long enough, and studied it, that there is so much about this that just feels like it would be more appropriate if this story took place in the 70s.
Yeah, right. So, okay, for people to have some sort of context, we should tell them what this story is about. Other than just being disappointing and outdated. So you kind of know where we're going. So It's called Best Wishes, and it opens up on, I think in Italy, maybe?
I believe so, yes.
Where this older couple is lamenting the fact that their town's ancient wishing well, or fountain,
Yeah.
where people often make wishes, is being taken and sold to give more money to their community.
Right.
And it's being shipped off to New York City.
Sure.
And so it arrives in New York City in Central Park, and then people start making wishes there and flipping coins in as you would do.
Sure.
And then something magical happens.
Yep. Basically, two of the world's worst people make a wish, and then we follow these terrible people for like 200 pages of this thing, and there's a third horrible person too, right?
So there's a lady named, God, I don't even remember her name.
I don't give a shit.
Mary? Is it Mary?
Sure.
So Mary, we'll go with Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
It is Mary, I think.
Cal.
And Josh.
Yeah. All right.
So Mary is not a graphic designer.
No.
She's
unemployed.
Yeah, she's an unemployed lady.
Yeah. Who happens to be dating the star quarterback of the New York Jets.
They look for unemployed
usually.
people.
And
no, he says I think there's a scene in there which this is actually probably very believable. He was impressed with the fact that she did not know who he was when he met her, because he knew she wasn't like a gold digger.
Right.
Because she'd never heard of him. She wasn't a football fan. He's a football player. And
that's what star quarterback of the New York Jets mean.
Well, I didn't know that till just now. I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day about football, and I said, and like this is in a room with people buying football cards from us, and I said football is to me the least interesting sport. I said I would honestly, like, I'm not kidding, rather watch two elderly men play checkers than to watch any football game that's ever been played. Like, that's how uninterested in football I am. Like I cannot think of another game that I would rather watch football over.
Right.
Like anything.
Yeah.
Salamander race. Like whatever.
Well, who doesn't want to see a good salamander race?
Oh yeah, when like you got your sandwiches and your popcorn and the beers flowing. It's nice. Is it in season right now?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
We're still in season. Okay.
So, I can watch football a lot more than I can watch some other sports. Like, fucking NASCAR. Just
I would rather watch NASCAR.
Oh, like, I don't get it whatsoever.
Oh, I hate it.
Okay. All right.
But I would.
This is where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
I find football watchable, but I would rather not.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would mostly put that for every other sport, with the occasional exception of baseball.
Yeah, baseball, even basketball.
I like basketball, yeah.
And hockey's my favorite, but
Yeah.
but even that, like, I could go a solid year or two without watching a game. But
Same.
But I've watched like 3 hockey games this year, and I've enjoyed them all.
Yeah. But yeah, like I can enjoy those, but I would much rather just not.
Yeah, there's plenty of other things to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this football player and Mary, who's a jobless lady, and Cal is a kind of a failing or upstart graphic designer.
Yeah.
He's trying to start his own company.
He's upstart and failing.
Yeah.
Which, I buy that. That's
That
entirely
happens,
plausible.
right?
I mean, that's essentially me.
Most graphic designers,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
But so Mary and Cal both make a wish in the wishing fountain at the same exact moment, and their coins like clank, even though they don't even see each other. Like,
Right.
But they just flip their coins in this giant fountain, and somehow their wishes get reversed
Yep.
to the other person.
Yeah. It's kooky.
It is.
Yeah. And then from that point, all believability just jumps right out the fucking window.
Yeah. And you know what? If this book would have been, instead of like 130 pages or whatever, it would have been 30 pages, and it would just been about Mary and none of the wishing bullshit, none of the football player bullshit, just her and like the weird circumstance that surrounded her, I think I would have fucking loved it. I really do. Like, none of the wish stuff. Just her happen to do this thing because it's about something that she kind of falls into
Right.
because of the wish. But if they
Right.
would take the wish out of it and it would have been much more believable if it was this thing that just kind of happened and she got swept up in.
Yes.
I would have actually loved that book.
I can see where you're coming from. But still, as somebody who has been tangentially involved in the graphic and advertising business for the last 20 years,
That would never happen.
yeah. Not the way that it plays out, at least. I mean, it's very possible that somebody could just... She basically just doodles a thing in a...
And there happens to be a contest.
There happens to be a contest, but also there happens to be a seasoned graphic design professional just hanging out and sees her draw this thing.
Yeah.
And is just like, oh my god, that's it.
Yeah.
And it suddenly becomes this logo for New York City that becomes like this
phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so they're trying to reunite all the different people in New York City and like stop the segregation and crime and all the you know all these like
it's just a PR stunt.
Yeah. They're trying to like unify people.
Yeah.
And so they're having this contest to design a symbol for the city, and this lady who has no graphic design skills designs this little logo, and it becomes it's the thing. It's the new Nike swoosh, only on steroids and crack cocaine and with an erection.
Yeah.
And everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And she
go fucking bug shit.
She's the biggest star since Whitley Strieber.
Right.
And it's all alien to her. Don't you want to probe a little more into this book? Anyway. But I honestly loved that element of the book, just about her and her, like, just...
I think that story is interesting. The way it's played out in this story is not.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and again, like, even if you do remove all the wish bullshit and weird romantic drama stuff happening, like, if it just that story is it's an interesting story.
Right.
But the execution of it, even without all that extras, is just so unbelievable.
It's like that little nugget of story is like the most amazing piece of like Szechuan chicken you've ever had, sandwiched in a loaf of stale, moldy bread.
Yeah.
And you have to eat the entire loaf of bread to get that piece of chicken.
Yeah.
And that's what this book is.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about her in this crazy circumstance. She suddenly becomes the greatest graphic designer in the world, even though she's not a graphic designer. And so her bosses are like, well, you should fake it. And so she hires our other guy, Cal.
The guy that probably deserved that job because he's really, he's trying and he's pretty good, I guess.
I guess. We never really see that come into play, but it works. And then there's Josh,
the football
player, who's just weird and creepy.
Yeah, and his whole like kind of purpose seems to be to, I don't know, to be a foil for the obvious romance that's going to be budding between Mary and Cal.
Right.
And he like is constantly cock blocking their ever getting together because he is in a relationship with Mary. So it's not like he's not cock blocking, but to the reader you want Mary and Cal to get together supposedly if you care about them,
right?
Which we didn't.
No,
but
that's what you're supposed to.
You're supposed to. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you're supposed to. I can tell everything that's happened in this book. I can just also tell you why it's not working.
Yeah.
It's not like we're missing anything.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Occasionally that happens.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
we're dumb.
We're the first to admit that occasionally we read something and we're just like, I don't get it. The Watchmen didn't have much fighting in it. But this isn't that. Why the guy with the blue schlong not kick more people's asses in that movie? I don't know. He's tough and barely got to kick ass. Dumb. But this isn't that.
No, it is not.
This is us wishing that it would have been 20 pages in an issue of Dark Horse Presents.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Josh is not really, he's not deliberately cock-blocking anyone. It's just, he's the boyfriend.
Right.
But like you said, everything is so fucking predictable and spelled out for you before it even happens.
Yeah, it is. Like, even the twists with him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah. No.
But the thing that I didn't get is that 90% of the time, whenever Josh shows up, he is always heavily in shadow, like he is going to fucking murder somebody.
Yeah. I remember thinking that too. I was like, oh, this is dark.
Right.
What's happening?
Right. But no, it's just, did Paul just not feel like drawing his face that day?
Maybe he didn't feel like using his terrible gray tones. Because that's the only thing I can say negatively about the artwork. It has maybe some of the worst, like, terrible computer gray tones. I just do not like those at all.
I honestly didn't notice.
Oh man, I do not like those. Like, I think it would have been much better if it would have been either really light grays or just no grays at all. Because sometimes it's just ugly.
Like I honestly don't recall. I mean, it's not bad.
I didn't like them.
It does its job. I
don't know.
I think
I thought they actually took away from it.
I think if it had been Zipatone, like, it probably would have worked better. I mean, there's definitely, like, this page I'm looking at here, where it is literally just a gradient.
Yeah. Oh,
doesn't work.
There's some of that. There's even one, I think, where I noticed at least one where it just looked like they just kind of put a square of gray over something that's not square shaped, like, just to, like, oh, this part needs to be darker, but we're not going to take the time to actually go along the contours. I don't know. It just, like, that sounds nitpicky, but I'm just like, why do it if you're going to half-ass it? Like, either just don't do it, and his art is strong enough to stand on its own.
It definitely is. I don't think it detracts, but it definitely doesn't help it. I think it is perfectly mediocre.
Yeah.
I think the exception of these gradient portions where it just looks bad.
See, and I think Eric's being extra fair here.
I definitely think, like, put myself in the position of Paul Chadwick. A, I wouldn't do this. Yeah. But B, like, either ink wash or halftone patterns. Not, like, it's basically just coloring, but they're gray.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's like it should have been in color, but they just didn't switch the setting.
I do think this thing would have maybe looked better in color, which is not something you'll hear me say very often.
Right.
But I do think this book would have worked better in color.
I think stark black and white, ink wash, or Zipatone patterns would have worked a lot better than what we're presented with artistically. It would not help the story at all.
No. Yeah, the story's bad. Yeah. It's just bad. It's like cheesy and just a little too ties up a little too perfect.
And it's overwritten. It's overwrought.
Yeah.
The just everything that happens in it is just so telegraphed.
It's an 8 to 12 page story in a 130 page book.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it takes forever to get to where we know it's going.
Yeah, and honestly, like I even read the part where, like, their coins go into the fountain, and still at that point I didn't realize that it was going to go to this thing where, like, they magically got their wishes and they magically get their wishes switched.
Right.
I just thought, like, okay, this is interesting. They're both making wishes, and and then once I realized that it was actually giving them, the the power of wishing, and also those wishes were magically switched from one person to the other. That was maybe the only part I actually got mad at and infuriated. Like, I was like, really? Come on. That's terrible.
Yeah. For me, I mean, yeah, stuff like that was terrible too. You know, I definitely got angry at things like that. I got angry at just things characters would say or do. You know, Mary's roommate is just an infuriating blot that just serves no real purpose whatsoever.
Yeah, she was annoying. She was just,
and she is ultimately a nothing in this book. Like, take her out, nothing changes.
Right. Unless, I think there was a point where you kind of thought Josh was gonna maybe hook up with her.
Right.
So it kind of gave you this feeling of maybe you can't trust Josh, but that didn't end up happening. But maybe that's the only reason she was really there, to kind of give you
like
that
a red herring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then it didn't work because as soon... fuck it, I don't care. As soon as Josh meets Cal, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you really do.
I mean, it's just right there. There is no subtlety.
No.
No foreshadowing. I mean, there's foreshadowing, but it's like, you know, like with a hammer to your face.
Right. Yeah, I hate that Paul Chadwick wasted so much time on this. And, like, you know what's really infuriating? I just now noticed on the cover, which is drawn by Paul Chadwick,
Sure.
his signature's there, and it says 2014.
Ooh.
Did he really spend 3 years of his life drawing this?
Probably.
God, that's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, takes a while.
I know, that's awful. I mean, not... And, like, only in the sense that was 3 years of his creativity that, you know, he didn't get to, like, work on other stuff because he was working on this.
But, I mean... I hope he loved this.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. And I hope it's made into a movie and they both become millionaires and Paul Chadwick can use that money.
Mike Richardson is already coasting for the rest of his life off Dr. Giggle's money.
It's gotta be true. That's gotta be true. And the mask. Yeah. But no, I would love to see Paul Chadwick become a millionaire and do whatever the hell he wants to do artistically.
Yeah.
And not have to do anything
like
as shitty as this to pay bills. So I hope this is made into a movie and it becomes like the biggest.
Even if it doesn't, you know, like I said, I hope that he was 1,000% into this story.
Right.
That this was like Mike called him up and said, "Hey, I got this idea," and Paul Chadwick was just like, "Fuck yes,
yeah,
sign me up 1,000,000 times."
I really, yeah,
but
I don't think so.
Such a slog.
It is, yeah.
And again, like there's so much of it that just reeks to me of just like old white dudes out of touch with
modern
reality.
Technology and
yeah. There's even like pages where people just talk about software programs that people use to do, you know, graphic design and advertising work. Like, why?
Right.
Like, none of that is necessary.
Yeah.
That is just Paul Chadwick or Mike Richardson just saying, "Hey,
see,
I know what's going on."
See, yeah.
Or just like vague understandings of like smartphone technology, like it is, or again, it's like I bet Paul Chadwick probably worked as a graphic designer in his early days, before comics,
probably, yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of this that just comes from, this is what it was like when I was doing it in 1978.
Maybe, I mean, do they ever say when this was set? I mean, they do have that scene where there's a guy that did an album cover in the 60s.
70s or whatever.
Let's see.
But they're also like watching stuff on YouTube live, you know.
Oh, it says an album cover from over 40 years ago. So yeah, it's not supposed to be set in the 70s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's supposed to be set now.
Yep.
Yeah, and you mentioned a minute ago about it being a slog, and I mentioned earlier that I read it all in one setting. It's because I honestly feared if I was like, if I put this down, I'm probably not going to pick it back up for like a week.
Yeah.
Because I'm not into it.
Exactly.
So I was like, I have to read it all right now.
I read it in 2 sittings, mostly because I ran out of time. The first, but I got through. Like I said, I took this with me to do laundry. I read all but the last 20 pages, there, and then I read the last 20, at my lunch break at work. So basically one setting, and there was no joy in me having to pick it back up.
I know, right?
To finish it, yeah.
And it's sad too, because Paul Chadwick's the people he draws and
he's a great artist.
These cool establishing shots. He's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, this book was just a 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
This copy will be available for $5 at Mavericks Cards and Comics, even though it has a cover price of $20.
Yes.
Barely read.
Read twice. Flipped through a handful of times.
But it will be there in our discount trade bins as of tomorrow.
Yeah, as I'm sure our stunning and flattering review will certainly send this flying off the shelf.
But I mean, if you want to prove us wrong and read it,
hey, yeah.
Hell, if you come in and use the code word Lanky Pants and you say it to Jason Young while he's working, you can have it for free, because I'm not gonna get paid for this. I'm just donating it. So you must come in and look Jason Young in the eye and say Lanky Pants, and you will get a free copy of Best Wishes, as long as supplies last.
I cannot wait for the day
that Brian John Mitchell visits Dayton, Ohio.
Or that somebody does, and you have no fucking clue.
It's probably true.
What they're saying.
What are you, what? What about my pants?
Let's take a break. Let's pause bashing Paul Chadwick for a minute.
I know. I hate doing it. It's like I want to love him. I want to love him.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that possibly also
makes it worse. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If I would never heard of either one of these guys, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe next time, guys.
No. Yeah.
But you're but these guys, or at least one of these guys, makes amazing books.
Yep.
Not this time.
Nope. All right. Take a break.
It's a shadow in the dark, silver in the park. It's a broken, faded bird you learn to call your heart. It's harder than you can see.
Hi. Welcome back.
Hey.
Yeah. So I have read 2 other graphic novels, I read a oh no, they were both trade paperbacks, I guess you would say.
Whatever. All right.
I read 2 series this week, in some format or another, both of which better than the one we just read.
All right.
I read Alien's Dead Orbit.
Okay. Wow. So literally like 2 minutes ago, I was trying to think of what our next pick was going to be. Alien's Dead Orbit.
Was it going to be one of them?
Totally popped into my head. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I should get the next issue by the time we do a show. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I read that.
Okay.
I should hold off what I think about it. In case it's...
Go for it.
It was so amazingly drawn.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. The actual story, I think, was good. There was a couple of things, I think, where maybe it, like, jumped a little bit, like, in time or whatever, because, there's, like, flashbacks and things involved, and, you're not, it's not, like, completely linear, but there's just a couple of times where I was like, I guess you have to kind of fill in the gaps. And I'm not real sure about the ending. I'll have to see what you think about the ending.
Okay.
But whatever complaint I have is more than made up for by the amazing James Stokoe artwork.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's incredible.
I mean, that is 99% of the reason I bought that book.
Yeah. It was like a good 85% for me. I probably would have bought it if it would have been like anything.
Right.
But the fact that it was Aliens, which I fucking love, I was really excited for.
Right.
So, and his drawings of the aliens are just incredible.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I also read Plutona. Have you read Plutona?
Is that the Jeff Lemire?
Yeah.
Book? That didn't last very long, did it?
No, I think it was just like a miniseries, like a 5-issue miniseries. It was okay.
Yeah.
Like the concept's really neat. It's like Stand By Me with a superhero instead of a boy.
All right. Looking for a dead body?
Well, yeah,
Okay,
exactly, yeah. And it was kind of interesting, but I didn't really like the characters that much, so it was hard to like get into it. But the actual concept is really cool, and the art's great. It's I forget her name, like I want to say it's like Emmy something. I can't remember her name. I'd never heard of her, but artwork was really good. Yeah, it was really good artwork. I don't want to say Emmy Lennox, but I might be thinking of Annie Lennox. So, but anyway, it was good. It was good artwork. But
Emil Lennox?
Is that a person?
I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, those books were both better than Best Wishes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep talking about Best Wishes.
It's okay. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we're supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Even though it was terrible.
Yeah. It's not good.
No.
It really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's over now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Did you read anything else cool?
I don't believe I have.
No.
Maybe I read an issue of something, but no, I can't think of anything I've read recently. I've been keeping up on Batman White Knight.
Oh yeah.
But I have not read the newest issue yet.
The one that's worth like $15.
Yeah. And still, Mr. Miracle, I think, is the best superhero comic currently being published. If you're not reading it, you're a fool.
I read What If #1 from the 70s this week as well, where Spider-Man joins the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Five.
Gonna ask what the what if was.
Yeah, it was like, what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four and they become the Fantastic Five?
Yeah.
And
does he wear the bag on his head?
No.
Fuck that.
But shit goes wrong.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
It always does.
I know. And the watcher he just stands there like watching.
Right?
Yeah.
What a dick.
Yeah.
Dick in a dress.
But it was okay. It was not the best What If comic I ever read, but it, it was interesting, and it was the first one. So, and I read the thing at the back where Roy Thomas talks about how excited he is about the series, and it does really go like some really cool places. So,
Sure.
I think I'm going to go through and read them all because
That's awesome.
I haven't read them in years and years, and some of them I'd never read number 1 because I didn't have it.
Great.
But I bought it and it was okay. It wasn't great, but
Yeah.
they're all fun.
Sure.
I like that
I've
book.
enjoyed myself a What If.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Marvel series ever, I think.
I know at one point in time in my early collecting days, the very first time that I ever spent what would possibly be considered too much money on a comic book was the What If Phoenix had not died.
Oh, okay. Because it was priced up like collector market value. Yeah.
Pretty sure I bought it at Mavericks.
Oh, what'd you pay?
At
Like
the time,
$5 or something.
probably closer to 10.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, this was 1988.
That's probably like a $2 or $3 comic now. You know,
Probably,
I mean, it's not like dollar box comic, but it's not $10 anymore.
No, definitely not. But I was like really like starting my habit at the time, and really had gotten into the old X-Men.
Oh yeah.
And so that was definitely a thing I wanted to have.
See, that's
more
cool.
than life itself at the time.
Right.
When I was 9.
That was good stuff. I remember reading those Claremont issues around the 10 or so.
Yeah. I remember buying the not reboot, but the second series, the second volume of What If.
Oh yeah.
I bought issue number 2 off the rack at a convenience store.
Which one was it, the Punisher vampire one?
No,
Oh.
it was What If Daredevil had killed the Kingpin,
Oh.
drawn by a very young and very unrecognizable, stylized Greg Capullo.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, I fucking loved that comic.
Yeah.
Like, I read that thing so much. Like I made fan fiction based on that issue of Daredevil, or What If.
Wow.
Just because of the way it ended. And,
You do that for most comics you read. Like during the break, you were already scratching down ideas for your fan fiction on Best Wishes.
Oh yeah, I've got a total universe expansion planned out.
Where does Josh go from here? We'll find out in Eric's fan fiction.
Yep. Yeah. I loved some of those old
That's cool. Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
Conan meets Wolverine, all that shit. Yeah. Yeah, there's even
I mean, there's also some terrible ones.
oh
too.
yeah, there's awful ones. And you know what's funny too is like looking back on them now, there's at least a half dozen of them that became actual Marvel storylines.
Especially towards the end of the second one.
Yeah. Or even the 70s one, there's like, you know, what if Jane Foster wielded the hammer? And,
Oh yeah, that's right.
and what if Spider-Man's clone had lived?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You know, all kinds of them. But yeah, I think there was just a lot of cool ideas, and they were like, it was literally, they were ahead of themselves because that was like something that they weren't quite ready to shake up the Marvel universe with.
Right.
But, you know, eventually years later they were, so those What If books were like ahead of their time because they were allowing writers to just kind of do whatever
Right.
and not really have to worry about keeping everything the same.
And how fun would it have been to do a What If back in the day?
Oh, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Just, you know, like, oh, hey, here's this, like, famous storyline, and I get to, like, take this one chunk of it and just go fucking
Yeah.
nuts with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
And, like, even some of them were done by, you know, like, I know the, What If, Elektra had lived was done by Frank Miller.
Yeah. Right.
Like, still in his Daredevil prime at the time. Yeah.
And he was probably like, huh, that's a good idea. Maybe I should just bring her back.
But I think with the most cases and what ifs and Elseworlds, it usually ends poorly or winds back up with the status quo.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like it when they end poorly.
Oh yeah,
like
it's a much better story.
It's more satisfying, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing with DC and their Elseworlds. Like, it just got eventually to the point where Like, especially if there was a Superman one,
Yeah.
where it's like, what if Superman was, raised at the bottom of the ocean? And then, like, at the very end, he becomes Superman and meets Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Every single
Yeah,
fucking one.
right. You're like, oh, it all worked out.
Yeah. I think the only one that ever did was Red Sun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which ended phenomenally and ended fucking weird.
Really?
Yeah.
I've still never read that.
It's the only Mark Miller thing that I can strongly recommend.
Right.
Like for all his horrible things that he writes and the horrible way that he writes them.
Yeah. Agreed.
For some reason, Superman is a character he truly gets.
Huh.
Because even because he did the Superman animated book for a while. The one based on the
Really?
cartoon. And, they were great stories. Like, he gets Superman.
Huh. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Because he usually kind of gravitates towards,
Superman's gonna butt fuck everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also, fuck you, fanboy.
Right, yeah.
I'm tired of you reading comic books. Let me just publish a comic book
Right.
about that.
Yeah. Also, Grant Morrison also ghost wrote parts of Red Sun.
That's what I've heard, yeah. I've heard that theory.
Yeah. But I don't think it's a theory.
Yeah, it's not a theory. Yeah. It's more like, he just happened. Yeah.
Speaking of Grant Morrison, he and Derek Robertson's Happy, which we reviewed once, is now a television program.
Do you think maybe the producers of the television show heard our review and said, hey, this sounds like it could be something?
Absolutely.
So we are
responsible.
instrumental in the... Oh, wow. So pat yourself on the back. I think we deserve it.
Yeah, we absolutely. Yeah. It's probably our fault then also that we didn't talk a lot about Derek Robertson then because
he's none of the advertisements.
Full credit for his contribution.
Yeah. Maybe he's like the Alan Moore of this project. He's like, take my name off of it. Yeah, so did you watch any of that?
I watched the first episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it seems to be following the comic, so
that's cool.
I'm a fan of Christopher Maloney, who plays Nick Sachs.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a great actor, and it's fun to watch him do the thing he's doing.
We had never sold our graphic novel of Happy, so it was on the shelf. And when they announced the TV show, I went ahead and ordered the new version as well. So I have 2 copies, and they both sold this week. So,
nice.
So people are taking note. I probably won't reorder it unless someone asks, because it took like 2 years to sell the first copy, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but it also only took you a week to sell the second copy.
That's true. So,
yeah. It's kind of cool, like, in a way, like I don't understand why people weren't on board with that book in the first place, because it's Grant Morrison and Derek Robertson, like 2 fairly big names, I would assume.
I think I can't remember exactly, but I think I liked it, but I was just kind of like, it was alright, that kind of thing.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not,
it's not something
pushing the boundaries of what comics can do.
Right.
It's pushing the boundaries of taste.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
I found that incredibly enjoyable.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And that's essentially kind of what the TV show is doing. Yeah. It was fun. It's, second episode just came out, so,
it's not one of those where they just vomiting them all out.
Nope, it is a weekly series, like traditional television.
Huh.
Yep.
Like the news?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool if they put out a whole season of the news, all at once? Like they tell you everything that's gonna, all the weather for the next year,
right,
precisely.
Yeah.
Is that gonna happen? That's not gonna happen.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Technology.
Right.
It's getting crazier.
Yeah. Paul Chadwick knows.
Yeah. I did look in the back while you were taking your break, and it said that he was he studied graphic design or something. He went to the Art Center College of Design. So yeah, I was probably in the, like, it didn't say.
64.
It doesn't say, but yeah, it's probably a good quarter of a century ago at least.
Yeah.
At least.
I mean, he was making comics.
Yeah.
A quarter century ago.
So yeah, it was probably more like 35 years ago. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything. I've gotten some cool books.
I saw some.
Yeah. One of which I didn't show you because I know you have your own copy. The Charles Burns Black Hole Artist Edition.
Oh my god. It's amazing. It's so cool.
It really is, yeah.
I've only bought 2 of those kind of books ever. I bought the Will Eisner one, the Spirit one, years ago, like 10 years ago or whatever. And then I bought this one because I just couldn't pass that up. And it's amazing.
It really is.
It's for those of you who don't know, they're like full-size reproductions and a giant hardcover of the original art. So, I mean, they measure like, 14 by 20 or something. I mean,
like that,
it's huge.
Yeah.
It's like a book that's much bigger than you can like comfortably like look through unless you have it like on a podium or I have mine on like I have like this table with all my long boxes of comics on it, and I put it on top of that on a giant flat surface to look through it, and it's beautiful. It's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I know you got yours before I got mine, and like you texted me, and it was like, "There's whiteout."
That's right. I was like, "Oh, thank God!"
Right? And so then I get mine, and I look through it, and literally the only place that I saw any whiteout whatsoever is like a 2-3 page segment where he drew a bunch of dudes talking, and he drew like full lips, and then at some point decided against that, and so there's whiteout over
like the upper lip
line of where like the upper lip is,
right, on all those panels,
on all those panels, and that is it.
I swear I can't like give you an example, but I swear I saw like at least one more, if not. Oh, there was like some eyes were changed.
Okay.
And then maybe like something else that looked like it could have been a mistake, I hope. Because that was what we were worried about, because he's like so like, he seems like he's like a Tool song. He's like this calculating, like, he slithers up and from the depths of wherever and puts these beautifully rendered, perfect comics out in the world. And we were worried that he makes no mistakes, and we're not sure still, because it looks like everything that is changed was maybe just a decision change.
Right, not because, I fucked that up. Let me fix that.
More just like, this would be more appropriate.
Right.
But I swear, I'm gonna look, I think there was one where I was like, that could have been a mistake. Yeah. I might have just been telling myself that, though. He's human after all.
Right. I mean, I didn't look through it super closely because it was also crushing me.
It's huge, yeah.
Literally and metaphorically.
And financially.
Yeah. It was not a cheap book.
No, it's like retail is like $150, but we both got them discounted through various means.
Yeah, I mean, not much of a discount, but
right.
Yeah. I think I still paid $120 for it, something like that.
Yeah. Mine was like right around 100, so.
Yeah. But like I was looking for like paste ups.
Yeah, right.
And like the only thing I saw was like, he just cut out this text so that he could put it in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's like, I think, and there's a 1-page splash of this character in his room, and I think there's like he clearly like took an image from an album cover and reduced it tiny and just cut it out and pasted it on like the album.
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, he's something.
He is.
Charles Burns.
Charles Burns. Speaking of another book that could crush me or anyone like in its path. I got the Jack Kirby Fourth World Omnibus yesterday.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
1,528 page monster of a hardback of every Fourth World New Gods comic that Jack Kirby did over at DC.
It is one of the thickest comics I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it actually is the biggest omnibus DC has published.
Wow.
Prior to that, the biggest one before that was the one that has every issue of The Invisibles.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I think, like some 50 some issues, and this one's like almost 60 or 70 issues of comics.
What if they would have misprinted 2 pages out of order and had to redo the whole production of that?
I don't know. Didn't they have to do that with Crisis on Infinite Earths back?
Did they?
15 years ago, whatever that was.
I don't remember.
I remember there was they put out that really deluxe slipcase edition
with the Alex Ross cover. And
yeah, and there was 2 panels that were misprinted.
Oh my god! Oh, but that's what they did though. They just sent out a piece of paper that had those panels on it, or something like that. Well, I remember that happening. I can't remember if it was with Crisis, but there was some expensive book that they didn't want to reprint.
All right.
No, it was a different book.
Okay.
But I just remember this trade was misprinted, and they sent out a piece of paper that had that page in correct order, and they said, just give this to any of your customers that bought this book.
That seems cheap and shitty.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think they actually pulped and reprinted Crisis, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Let's hope that didn't happen.
I know the issue of Monsters Unleashed that came out a couple weeks ago is number 8 of the Marvel book.
The current series.
Yeah. A huge portion of the print run, halfway through the book, you just turn the page and all of a sudden it's a Luke Cage comic for 4 pages.
Are you sure it's not a Snickers ad?
No.
Or for
I know, right? No, because they recalled it.
Okay.
But yeah, it could have been one of those things. But yeah, no, ours were fine, but they sent out replacement copies to every store because they weren't sure whose were bad.
Right.
But yeah, so if you read Monsters Unleashed, check your pages. You might all of a sudden have a Luke Cage comic for a few pages, and then it goes back just into the story where it should have been.
Yeah. The only comic I've ever bought that had some sort of misprint like that, and I remember there was a weird period of time when shit like that was becoming collector's items.
Yeah.
I remember there was an issue of Sandman or something that had a misprint in it, and it became worth $100 or something like that. But when Alan Moore and J.H. Williams' Promethea came out,
yeah,
I bought the first issue, and I was reading it, and about halfway through, it started feeling very repetitive.
But you thought it was a story element?
I did,
yeah.
It was because the character is dreaming or having a weird all other dimensional experience, and it's oh, okay, so she's reliving stuff that already happened to her earlier. J.H. Williams' art is crazy, even at the time, and no, it was just they reprinted the first time of the book.
That's
twice.
funny. That's funny. Maybe it was some weird magic spell Alan Moore was doing.
It's quite possible. Yeah, there's always been stuff I've heard about accidental racial slurs.
You're right. Oh yeah. There's been plenty of that stuff.
Yeah.
The Wolverine comic where someone is called a kike or something, and that X-Men Gold #1.
Oh yeah.
That was very recent.
That wasn't a misprint or anything.
No.
That was just
an artist snuck in some propaganda,
Yep.
religious propaganda.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of an odd little collection to put all those together.
Right.
Yeah. Comics are fun.
Comics are fun. We should read another one.
What? But we've already read so many.
I know we have. But there's so many out there that have yet to be read.
That's true. Ain't he right? Like which one, for example?
So I've sort of hinted at it earlier. Didn't really have anything picked before you showed up to my house today.
Because you're like, how can we top the one that we just read?
Sure. I think, I read that one. I was like, I don't want to read
I'm
comics
done
anymore.
with comics. You're like, if Woody Allen movies are this good, I'm only watching movies from here on out.
So I've had like 4 in mind tonight. One of which was aliens that were written.
Veto.
Yeah. So I still haven't decided. We were during our break kind of trying to figure out what have we done recently.
Yeah.
And
what have we been doing with our lives?
Well, that's an eternal question that has been plaguing us for 40 years.
The first 5 were great.
Okay, so 35 years.
Yeah.
Still not entirely 100% sure of which one I am picking. In fact, I am changing it up in my brain right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can smell that. It's happening.
We know we have. I was going to say, we have never done a book with this character, but we have.
If you don't pick one in 12 seconds, I'm picking one. That was in the rules that you signed. You might not have read all the small print.
All right, then I'm going back with my third choice, which is, I'm pretty sure, a character that we have never read before.
Okay.
And following apparently our tradition of we read a few indie books and then an old Marvel.
Yeah, right.
We're going to kind of do that, but it's not that old.
Okay.
Within the last 10 years or so. But we are going to read, I hope, Thor, the Mighty Avenger, the 8-issue Roger Landridge and Chris Somney book.
Oh, cool. Okay. I have not read this.
All right.
And I am not opposed.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. Thor, what's it called? Thor, the Mighty
Avenger.
The Mighty Avenger, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right, let's Thor it up, yo.
Thor, yeah.
Thor, yeah. I like it.
I don't.
Yeah, it's bad.
I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, to be fair, we've had a lot to suffer through.
That is true.
And we're not in our peak performing.
Absolutely not. It's been rough.
Yeah, it has.
It's been real rough the last few weeks for me, at least.
Yeah. I was just referring to the book we had to read.
Well, that too. That didn't help.
No.
Did not help.
Well,
Alrighty then.
Hopefully Thor is better.
I hope so as well. Alrighty.
Right.
At least there'll be more punching in that one.
Yeah. That way I'll understand it more.
Alrighty. Goodbye.
See you.
Thank you for listening to Gutter Trash. You can subscribe to the show from guttertrash.net or from iTunes and leave us a review. Visit guttertrash.net for email information and for other podcasts and websites in the Gutter Trash Network. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.